Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Apartment Department. My name is Ann Baum. With me, as always, is my co-host, Chris Johnson. We have a wonderful guest with us today, Jude Chiy, the founder of Flamingo, who happens to be the sponsor of the podcast. So this is like an extra special episode, but Jude has been with us before, and he kindly offered to, through his company, sponsor the podcast. And we're so grateful. And we're always grateful for the chance to talk with Jude because every conversation with him, you only have an hour and you wish you had 10 hours. So I know this hour is going to go by very fast. Jude, why don't you go and introduce yourself real quick, and then I'll go ahead and introduce our topic.
Oh, awesome. So thank you guys for having me on, and I appreciate the compliment, but I don't think you want to talk to me for 10 hours. so, so my name is Jude Chiy, and I am the founder and CEO of Flamingo. So Flamingo is a resident retention platform. So we focus everything that we do around like retention and really helping the industry go from that average 55% retention to closer to 65 or 70% retention. That's our goal for most of our customers, is to get them to that level for retention.
That's wonderful. And the last time you were on with us, you gave us a stat about how what if multifamily challenged themselves to reach other industry benchmarks for retention. And that's something we actually ended up writing an article about it on our Substack and kind of showing the math around it. But that's always something that's stuck with me. So it makes sense that the purpose of Flamingo is for retention. And what we wanted to talk about today was something different. We a lot of times talk about kind of industry going ons, but we want to talk to you today about something really interesting because you've done a really wonderful job at Flamingo with organizing your company through performance management. And you and I had a chance to talk about this a couple weeks ago. And when you were coming on, I was like, we have to talk about this more because I think it's really important for our listeners to understand the importance of how can we manage our teams better so that we all have the same North Star. And I think you're the absolute perfect person to teach us everything about how to do this. So tell us more about kind of your company and performance management and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think our conversation kind of kicked off at Redcon a few months ago, weeks ago,
Yep.
when we kind of spoke about some of the challenges with just like performance management. I think the conversation actually started off with remote. So you all have like partly remote. Whilst for Flamingo, we are basically like a fully remote like company. And when you are a fully remote company, you have to really think differently about performance and just in general, the company like culture. Because when you are an in-person company, things are a little bit simpler. So someone comes in, they work a certain number of hours, and then they leave, which works well and it's worked well for a very long time. But as a remote company, it's slightly like different where as you kind of think about performance, it's not really how many hours you're there, what you're doing. It's really focused around like, are you getting a result? Because for traditional companies that are really in person, one of the fastest ways to gauge performance is just, yeah, you show up every day, you kind of get your job like done. But as a remote company, you cannot really hold people to those same like standards. So you have to look at different ways of measuring like how well they are doing. And so for us and for me, I struggled for a very long time with really like how to measure performance, how to hold people accountable, had a lot of bad hires. And a lot of those bad hires came from not really thinking about performance as a core part of leadership. So you just kind of assume like, okay, you hire someone that looks great. They have a nice resume. They have done all these things. They have this amount of experience. When they come in, you don't need to do anything or meet with them. And then it just all becomes like good. But that was not the case. Had a lot of really hires that just were not a fit for what we do. And that made growing as a company much more challenging and made me really question like, one, like how I am as a leader, and then two, whether I'm like capable of being able to like manage people. And from there, I kind of realized that like my leadership style is really focused around my results. And it just all, when that realization came, it also like clicked because for Flamingo as a company, we've always had like one single North Star, which is retention. And the reason that's always been the measure has been because as a tech company, especially in the multifamily space, no one buys your product because it's nice, it has a lot of features, it has this, it has this. They buy it for like a single reason. Does it help them with something? And for us, that something was retention. So for our customers, they don't buy it because they like me. They don't buy it because they think this. They want to get like results out of it. So I realized that for a long time, our focus on the company has been to make sure that what we build, and what we deliver is something that's actually going to help customers. So I realized we need to apply the same sentiment to all parts of the company. If the focus is on ensuring that customers have results, we also need to ensure that everyone on the team has and knows what the results they need to achieve is. So from there, it makes everything else not easy, but easier. So, when you hire someone, you have to really force yourself to define what the exact job description is and what the outcomes look like. So if I hire someone and I lay out what the results they need to achieve are, and it takes them an hour every day to achieve that, I'm very happy. Like, I don't care if they do that hour of work, get the results, and then go spend the next 7 hours at the beach, as long as they have like gotten that. So it just kind of changed how I think and how I hired, and we've seen much more success doing that. And it's also just easier for people once you kind of define exactly what great looks like.
I think that's amazing. So where did you start? I mean, did you do a complete overhaul? Did you start with one job at a time? Did you start with like a company scorecard? Where did you start the whole process?
Yeah, really good question. So it started with looking at what we as a company are trying to achieve. So our North Star metric is resident retention. So if resident retention is what we want to achieve, then every role that we hire for needs to work towards that, because retention is what we want to do and what we want to focus on. So once we define that as the North Star for the company, everything else becomes like easy to wrap around. So if we hire marketing, you look at marketing and say, for the marketing team, what we want to do is attract people that care about retention. Not every operator cares about retention. For some, they want to acquire property, lease it up, sell it, or acquire property, do value add, sell it. They just want to raise rents or do other things. They don't care about like the long term, which is like it's not a bad thing. It's their like business model.
Yeah.
But we have other ones that care about retention because they have that long-term hold. Their entire value proposition is around that long-term value for each like resident. So for us, if you look at someone in marketing, we are looking at, is the content that we have out there focused around retention that would attract someone? Are the conferences that we attend where places where we can talk about retention? Are the ads or marketing, whatever collateral we have, focused around retention? And then for marketing, the gauge there is for the people that come in when we have a meeting with them. Are they saying that, yeah, I reached out to Flamingo because I want to improve my retention, or do they reach out to us because they want to do something else? So performance for marketing is what's the type of prospective clients that we get? What traffic are we getting? Is it people that care about retention or people that don't care about retention? And then you kind of apply that to every role. So for our product team, every feature that's built is focused around retention. Like, is this going to help people have improved their retention, or does it just do something else? Like, we're never going to build something that's about like, oh yeah, this is focus on helping you lease faster, or we have a CRM to do this. It's just like, it's not our product. So for us, it's all the things that help drive retention. So we have a strong emphasis on events because events help bring people together. We have a ticketing system that works similar to because most companies have a maintenance request system where if someone has an issue, they submit a maintenance request. But for most residents, when they have a non-maintenance issue, whether it's a noise complaint or whether it's a question on how to renew their lease or some other administrative things, typically they would email management. And the issue behind that is the same reason that you don't want residents to email maintenance requests is the same reason you don't want them to email administrative issues. Emails get lost in inboxes. So for us, we have a ticketing system because we know that one of the biggest complaints residents have when they move out is that I sent an email, no one responded to me. It takes the team 5 days to get back to me. And the reason behind those issues is email isn't a great way to manage customer issues. So our ticketing system directly supports retention because it helps our customers respond faster to residents, helps the leadership be able to see how quickly their teams actually respond to resident issues, not just maintenance issues. So that way they can say, oh, right now it's taking our teams like 5 days to get back to residents. That's not a good thing. So let's now bring our SLAs down to 1 day, which directly improves the resident experience, which ties back to retention. So that's how we think about product. So every feature that we add directly relates back to something that's going to help improve retention for residents, whether it's renewals, how to make renewals like faster and easier, or whether it's our rewards program. Basically, everything is built around how does it drive up like retention for our customers. And then same thing for every other team member, like our customer success managers. Customer success is like your rep. So for software companies, part of what you want to happen is for your customers to use the features that they are paying for. So the role of customer success management is to make sure implementation goes well and then monitor how the customers use the product. So if they have a feature that they are not using, the role of customer success is to reach out to say, hey, Chris, you guys have this ticketing system and I see that your teams are not using it. Can you set up a training session so we can show them how it works? Or your SLAs right now are 5 days, but we recommend like having your SLAs to be 24 hours. Can we talk through how that might become a strategy? So for customer success managers, their role isn't just to get product utilization, but to actually translate that into retention. So if we launch with a customer and their retention is, let's say, 55%, 6 months later, is it still at 55 or are they now at 60? Are they now at 65? Are they now at 70? So for our customer success managers, that's how we would measure their performance is our customers, are they actually increasing their resident retention?
And now, a message from our sponsor, Flamingo. Every multifamily marketer wants to know what the next big thing will be. At the apartment department, we think that resident retention is the next big thing, which is why we're excited to have Flamingo as our podcast sponsor. Flamingo, founded by Jude Chiy, is an all-in-one resident retention platform used by some of the top-performing communities in the country. And here's a fun little secret. If you see a community with 300 plus online reviews and 65% plus retention, there's a good chance they're using Flamingo. From automated renewal management and resident events to amenity bookings and even an AI concierge, Flamingo brings everything together in one sleek app that residents actually use. Learn more at getflamingo.com.
Jude, was retention always your goal when you started Flamingo, or did you just learn that having that program and tying yourself to retention would really help you be successful? Because it's so important in our industry for us that are holders, long-term holders, retention is everything. So how did you end up making that your North Star?
Yeah, it was always not always obvious, but the thing that we always focus on was how do we help our customers offer a better experience? So Flamingo used to be called Hello Healthy. So when I got started in the space, the goal was to bring fitness classes and wellness to apartments. And then we also added like events. So a lot of what we focused on was, hey, let's help your residents like have a great time, have a strong sense of community, because if they meet their neighbors, they are going to stay longer. So that was kind of the selling point that we focused a lot on. It was primarily, let's help you have a stronger sense of community, because when that happens, your residents will stay like longer. But a lot of the language that we used at that point really wasn't like retention, because we didn't really realize that that's how the industry thinks about it. It was more like, yeah, let's help people have that sense of community, they'll stay longer. So for a very long time, we never really mentioned like retention. We just kind of assumed that it was obvious, like that's why you offer like fitness classes, that's why you do events, that's why you do this. So did that for a while, and then after doing that, we saw really good engagement from residents, but there wasn't a really easy way for us to measure how we actually had impact. And I got nervous because as a CEO, one of the things that you have to do strategically is always think about what could put me out of business. So for me, what could put me out of business, I thought about was, if one of our customers came to me and said, "Hey, Jude, we pay you guys like $2,000 per month. Can you show me the results?" At that point, I was like, I have no idea. Like, I could not say, "Oh, this has happened." So I got really nervous as I thought about that. So the way to solve that was for us to add like a really basic app so that we could track attendance. And then we started tracking attendance for who came to the classes. And then every month, we would ask our customers to provide us with their like rent roll. And then we'll go through to look at who moved out and who stayed. And then try to track, okay, the people that attended classes, how much longer are they staying than the people that did not. Obviously, that was like super manual. And a lot of our customers even wouldn't like do that simple thing. So then did a little bit more research and was like, okay, oh yeah, we can get all that data directly from a property management system integration. And then so added that integration so we could directly pull the data. And then from there, also then realized that there's a lot more that can be done to drive retention. So then that's how we thought about how do we scale up the product, and how do we make sure that whatever we add is really focused around retention. So spent about 4 months or so where I just went to every single apartment in Chicago. Basically would wake up from 8 to 5:30, would walk, pick a street, walk down that street, talk to each resident, or not talk to some of the residents, talk to the property managers, the assistant managers, the front desk, to really understand what they do, what their challenges are, how they currently do different like processes. And then from there, it just all kind of came together for how we could really like better drive retention.
That makes complete sense.
I'm fascinated. I'm really thinking about this from a marketing department standpoint, going back to the performance management and just thinking about the North Star of, I think a lot of times marketing departments are all things to all people because they've inherited processes or, I know when I started, we were responsible for the annual awards ceremony every year. And I was like, what? Why? But it was just because it had always been that way. Oh, marketing always does this. And so I think it's really fascinating. We've been trying to figure out our North Star as well and, have settled on our job is to drive leads for the properties. It's to be, and we actually had a conversation with someone yesterday who they said that's what their department is responsible for. And so I think you're right that once you have that North Star, it becomes easier because then all of a sudden you can almost say like, these things that I've been doing, are they contributing to what I'm trying to accomplish? So in our case, is this contributing to us driving more leads for a property? Yes or no? And if it's no, then you figure out, well, is this even necessary or should it live on site? And so all of a sudden, I've found, at least from a department standpoint, and this was part of our conversation too, was that now there's clarity around the work we're doing. And we're using EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, too, to help us organize these systems, but it was fascinating how it's been fascinating how the clarity comes so quickly once you define this is what we're actually trying to accomplish.
Yeah, so 2 points around that that I absolutely love. So a couple of not even a couple of weeks ago, I think last week, um, I was having like a meeting with one of our team members, like Mario, and we were just talking through some of the things that we need him to do. And he was like, "My goal is this." Like that doesn't align with my goal. And initially I was like, "What do you mean? Like everyone should like try to do everything that every the company like needs." Then I was like, "Oh man, that's I set the system up." And he thought, "You're breaking your rules." This is not my thing. Yeah. It's like, this is not my thing. Like, it doesn't help me with X, Y, and Z goals that I focus on. And I really appreciated that he brought that up because it does drive that clarity where everyone on the team knows exactly what they are measured on and what they need to do. And then allows them, like, very fairly to be able to push back to say, yeah, this is not what I was hired for. Which can sound bad, but it's definitely for the way that our culture is, it makes absolute sense to push back because you are judged on the results that you are hired for.
Yeah, no, I've found that every time we try and do oh, we'll do this just one time, or we'll do this to be helpful, or yeah, we don't normally do that, but they're asking us and we don't want to say no because we want to be helpful. It always gets us in trouble. Like it never because it just starts and you start veering. And I was thinking about too when you were talking about even from a product roadmap standpoint, I mean, you're able to clearly look at features or requests from clients and kind of say yes, no pretty quickly. I know I worked at a SaaS company years ago, and the roadmap was
Infinite.
infinite and driven by multiple factors, but not
Mhm.
necessarily always a North Star, and it seemed
Yeah.
chaotic at points. So
And that's where this helps a lot because it really forces clarity for everything and then allows what I think is one of the most important things for a company, which is to have independent like decision making. So if everyone knows what the North Star is, then it's much easier for people to make independent decisions to say, for product team to say, yep, we have these 200 like feature requests. Which ones do we work on? If everyone knows that the North Star is XYZ, then it's then pretty simple to do a product matrix to say this might improve retention by XYZ. This might help improve retention by this. This helps with this that is not related to retention. So let's prioritize the two that are going to help with retention and kind of ignore the other ones.
how has this changed how you structure like job descriptions for hiring, performance reviews, like, because you said before you weren't maybe always hiring the right people or maybe giving them the right accountability tools. So, what does that process look like now when you're bringing people on?
Yeah, so it's allowed for a lot of clarity. So to hire someone, you have to fully define what that person is going to accomplish. So what that role is going to accomplish. And then from there, you kind of lay out exactly what those things are. So if it's a customer success manager, it's you rather than just say, hey, you are going to help our customers use the product better. What does that actually mean? Or you are going to help our customers and get like a 5-star review or whatever. It doesn't really drive anything. So now it's much simpler to say your role is to help our customers achieve their retention goals. So you then like break down each goal to say to help drive customers retention goal, it means that if you have a new customer within 30 days, they need to have X, Y, and Z products activated because we know that when these are in use, it's going to help retention. You need to meet with customers at least once a month and talk about these things because we know that when you meet with them or do the training, this is going to help them get comfortable doing this. So you can really like define every single thing to say we need for implementation, we need activations within 30 days. We need the customers to reach this amount within 60 days or within 90 days or within 100. And what really helps there is you have playbooks. So you can say, these are the best practices with how to ensure that they help or that our customers reach the retention. But we don't define exactly that you need to do this, this, or this. This is the playbook. You can follow the playbook, but if you think there's a faster way of doing it, by all means, go ahead and do it. All we really need is for you to know that the customer needs to be at 60% retention by XYZ date after implementation. So it really allows everyone to get really creative to solve for that problem based on what they think or what experience they have. For some people, it might be super relationship focused. So let me build relationships with every single on-site team member, and let me do a lunch and learn with their whole region. Or let me do this. For other people, it might be you set up like an email campaign where when they are out of use for one feature, they get an automated email or they get this. So for every person, they can figure out like what makes the most sense for them. So you can have one CSM that is really about that relationship. Another one might be really about product education or something else. So it makes creating the job descriptions or forces you to get really descriptive and be a lot more quantitative. And then once you've done that, it's then much easier to interview people from that because they can actually see the job description and see what the expectations are and then know if that's something that they can do or not something that they can do. And then once you've done that and brought that person on, performance reviews become pretty simple because you're like, hey, can you kind of lay out where each of your customers are and what that average is? And let's talk about what happened and then where you are metrics wise. And then if you aren't currently hitting your goals, like what's the plan to get there? So if half of your customers haven't achieved the goals that are laid out, like what is the plan to get there? So it just makes it so that everyone like knows where they need to like be.
That makes sense. Makes it a lot easier. So I want to shift gears if I could, and Jude, and ask you, what's your favorite feature right now that you have on your platform that you love to promote?
I would say our omni-channel communication. So sounds like a fancy word, but basically, we make it really easy for teams to communicate with their residents. And the reason why we promote that a lot is simply because one of the fastest ways for companies to improve retention is just literally let your residents know every single thing that's happening. And this can be, you don't have to use Flamingo for that. You can use pretty much like every platform that you have to communicate with your residents. So what I mean by that is if you look at online reviews and look at negative sentiment, the most often complaint from residents is just not knowing what's going on or communication issues. So most companies would spend like $1,000 per month on events, and no one has to like do that. Just email your residents regularly. So if the elevator is broken, send an email to everyone. Keep them updated every single day with, hey, elevator is broken. We'll keep you guys updated. The next day, hey, elevator is still broken. We're still working on it. Here's where things are. The third day is like, hey, we ran into this issue with the elevator. We're still working on it. Every single thing, just let them know what is going on. Um, some people think that, oh, that's like too much. We literally looked at our data and looked at the number of emails that our customers send and correlated it with retention. The people that send the most emails have the highest retention. It's really like that simple. If there's like one tip to drive retention, is literally just send more emails to your residents. It's really, really that like simple. And everyone could see a pretty substantial boost just doing that because all residents want to know is what's going on. So if the elevator is down, you don't tell them and they discover it, they get pissed. If this happens, they don't hear about it, they get like pissed. So just keeping them updated is really all you need to do in order to improve like retention. So for me, it's one of the things that I promote the most because it's just such a simple thing. It's just like communicate more with people. I mean, we have other like fancier features like renew management, AI, and all of that. But for me, the simplest solutions are really like the easiest things. It's the same thing like in personal business relationships and everything else. Like a lot of things that go wrong is just communication not happening. And I'm guilty of it myself too. But that's like definitely like the fastest way.
We've been doing some focus groups recently, and that's what we heard from the residents. They just
Mm.
want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
They want to know when the sidewalks are going to be repaved or whatever
Yeah.
it's called. I don't know what it's called. Like,
Yeah.
a roofing project or a fence. I mean, you're exactly right. They just want to know. They don't want to be
Mhm.
surprised. So I think
Yeah.
you're right. You're right on there.
One of my favorite moments where I saw this in practice was maybe 6 years ago. We had one of our customers, and they had, I think it was a pet poop issue. So one of those where there were just like a lot of complaints around it. And the property manager, they didn't have a solution for it. It's one of, I think it was pet poop or something else, but it was one of those issues where there just like wasn't a good solution for it. It might have been security, where there's just like not a good solution. Like you're dealing with the general public, people broke into your car, like it's parked on the street. I don't know how to solve that. Rather than her just ignore those, what she did is she used our platform to send out an email to residents, but it also posts within the app where it basically asks residents like, hey, we have this problem and X number of you have brought it up. Like these are the issues that we have. Our team doesn't know how to solve it. We will love suggestions from you guys as residents. Like, how do you think we should solve this? It immediately changed everything. Like we saw the resident surveys like the next month changed immediately. Like went from an average of like 3 out of 5 to like a 4.5 out of 5. And all they did is bring the residents into the conversation to say, hey, yeah, this is a problem. We don't know how to solve it. What do you guys suggest? So residents were putting left and right suggestions. And from there, the residents themselves realized that it wasn't an easy thing to solve, but it brought the residents to the property manager's like side, and that instantly changed how the residents like viewed that problem. And it was a simple like email, nothing that took them that long to like do.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So to this day, my favorite, still like my favorite like anecdote for what's happened.
Those are pretty great results, though. And if you can have a platform to have the residents kind of work these problems out themselves, or at least come up with ideas and feel like they're being heard,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think a lot of the times that's all they really want. Just for our teams to acknowledge that they're having a problem or having a good day or whatever it may be.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it kind of goes across the board, across like every type of communication. Like for maintenance, as an example, the simple updates, hey, we received your maintenance request. Oh, your maintenance request has been assigned to X person. Oh, your maintenance request is now in progress. Oh, it's on hold because of XYZ. Just like those small things add like massive value to how residents like feel. And I think it was Domino's or some other pizza chain that added that ability for people to see the progress with their pizza. Just like that small thing drove like massive value. And we're talking about like millions of dollars in value to them just for adding that. Same reason why Uber, as an example, is so successful. Like the most frustrating or scariest situation is you have a flight at like 7 a.m. in the morning. The night before, you call this is pre-Uber, you call a taxi company, you book your taxi at like 5 a.m. You are super nervous. Is the cab coming? Like, where are they? Are they 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away, 20 minutes away? Well, the Uber, you can see exactly how far away it is. So just like those like small things matter. That's why communication and property management can be so powerful to drive retention. Like for anyone like listening, like literally just set a random SLA to tell your on-site teams like, hey, you need to send something out to residents at least twice a week. It doesn't matter what it is. At least send something out twice a week. Just let them know, hey, Stephanie is off today. Just so you know, if you send her an email, she might not reply. Just like those things, it sounds silly, but it lets residents I know, okay, I heard from them. I know because Stephanie's out today, it might take 2 more days for me to hear back. So something like that small lets them know what's going on.
Light bulb.
Yeah.
We talk about little things that can help the listeners. That's a free tip right there that we can all do and encourage our teams to do so. Jude, as we wind down, and of course our conversation went quick as always. And we always love having you on because you talk to so many people, and so your insights are really great. And of course, this time we did it a little different and talked about the employment side, but it relates to everything. It relates to what we're doing, and retention is important to all of us um, as marketers. But we have always kind of ended our pods with what is happening in the future? What do you see in the future? Obviously, you talk to a lot of operators, you're in the tech business, that is what you do. What's next for us? Or what does multifamily really need to lean into? I know the easy answer is AI, but how and why and what is it? What should we be looking out for? And I know you've always compared us to being in the hotel business and then kind of treat our customers that way. So are we moving that direction? What's next? What's the future? Tell us.
Mhm. Yeah, so definitely cannot predict the future, but I will talk about the things that, oh, the thing that two things, where they're the hills that I'll die on. So I would love for it to be completely wrong, but I absolutely believe these things. So the first one is everyone right now cares a lot about like resident engagement and how that gets executed for most companies is around the staff doing resident events. And for me, that has been a good thing, but it has never really like made sense why the on-site teams are the ones that like do events. When you could literally just let your residents do events. Your residents already do all the things that the on-site team tries to program by themselves. So residents go to bars and hang out with their friends. Residents do all these activities. And right now, a lot of the ways that the on-site teams do events is very, I don't know what the right word is. It seems very like manufactured. It's not really authentic. I think more companies need to look at how do we enable residents to really like drive retention themselves. It's like, hey, I want to go see a movie this weekend. I just moved to this city. I don't know anyone, but happen to randomly live in a place where there are 500 other people that are my neighbors. I should be able to quickly and easily go to that movie with those friends. Or I am in my apartment, I'm about to have dinner. I ordered Uber Eats. There's no reason why I should sit in my little desk by myself and eat dinner by myself when there are like 500 possible other people that are doing the same thing at this time. I could just eat dinner with them. Or I want to um I want to go to karaoke or something else. So all these things that residents could do together right now, the companies are not really enabling them to do those things together. So I think when companies start doing that, engagement is going to be very, very different than what we have today, which for most companies they do at the average that we see is about 2 events per month. So 2 events like a grab and go breakfast or some happy hour, versus what I think needs to happen, which is literally every single day there is some like event, an event in quotes. It could be 5 residents coming down to have dinner together, or it could be 2 residents going to go watch a movie, or it could be 10 residents going to some event downtown together. So I think a really authentic events that are driven by residents are really like the next phase in engagement. And the best part about that is you can have a calendar where there are events every single day and it doesn't cost the property anything. So that's one. The hill that I'm going to die on, and we spoke about that a lot, is brand. So for the apartment industry, for a very long time, there really, and still today, there really isn't an emphasis on brand. And the reason why brand is so important is because it's the last competitive advantage that can ever like exist. So in the apartment industry or in business in general, there are a few things that give you a competitive advantage. So one is the people that you hire. But in the industry, there's just a lot of movement. You get hired here, you stay for 2 years, you go to another company. So talent in the industry moves around a lot. So it's not really a lasting competitive advantage. And then the second is process. Process, you figured out a really great way to market, or a really great way to move residents in, or a really great way to keep residents there. All of that gets copied over time because you move to this company, you tell the new team, like, hey, at my old company, this is what we did, and it was amazing. So let's all do the same process. The third is technology. So you implement this great software, but eventually everyone implements the same software systems because we all attend the same conferences. So we meet the same people, learn about the same processes, and then end up implementing the same technology. So those are never going to be a long-term competitive advantage. The one that a lot of people might use is scale. So you see scale happen with a lot of bigger companies like Raystar keeps acquiring. More of the top 50 continue to grow based on acquisition. So that gives them the competitive advantage of scale. Like they can compress pricing because they can request less cost from vendors. So they have the scale advantage. But that also doesn't last that long because people kind of figure out ways to go around that. The one that really cannot be taken, or the one that stays the longest, is brand. So if prospects know who you are, they don't go to apartments.com or they don't go to Google and search luxury apartments Chicago. They go directly to your website, which means that you don't pay the fees to the ILSs. When they are coming up for renewal and they have to move to a different city, the conversation they have with the on-site team is very different. It's not, hey, here's my notice, I'm moving out. It's like, hey, I need to move for my job. Do you have other assets no, they don't say assets. Do you have other communities in X city? So the conversation just changes because they're like, hey, I really like this brand. I want to stay within that brand. And it's the last competitive advantage because it's so difficult to build. It's something that takes a long time to do, but once you have it, it's always like there. It's why someone can like travel like 5,000 miles to go to a completely different continent, a completely different place with a different language, and they ask for Coke rather than the regional drink that they have because Coke has really like built that brand. So for a brand, for me, that's like the last competitive advantage and the most important one.
That was amazing. Thanks, Jude.
Yeah, no, always happy to
A
do
lot to take in. I think for our listeners have a lot to think about there. Brand is important. Obviously, our first conversation that we had, you and Ann really talk about this because that's a big thing for Ann, that she's always talking about brand and has done quite an amazing job with town and some of the opportunities that she's found in her local markets and getting the name out there. I watch TV and I see some of her stuff. I'm a big sports guy, you know? Yeah, Jude did too. Yeah, and so there's Ann. Like I'm like, that's Ann. I know what she's doing. That's great. It's working. Um, so yeah, we really appreciate it. You have a great company. For the listeners out there who haven't looked or explored Flamingo, I think you should. I used it in the past. I've known Jude now for a long time. He really cares about this industry and he cares about his product. So it's definitely worth a conversation for those of you who haven't explored it. Jude, as always, it's been great. Anything else from you, Ann?
No, I think my takeaway from this is really, I love the evolution that Flamingo has gone through, and I think it's so applicable. What I said before is, we're all running marketing departments and marketing functions, and we can evolve. We can take what Jude talked about and use that in our own departments and really evolve what our purpose is within an organization and get clarity. And so that's why I was so excited to hear you talk about it, because it can directly apply to all of us and how we're managing our teams. And so I appreciate you sharing all of that with us because I didn't even know about the health part and the classes, and like that was a that was a whole new but so that's my last thought is thank you for sharing your journey with us, because I think all of us can take something you said and apply it to how we're managing our teams right now. So Jude, thank you as always for your support. Thank you to Carlos. Thank you to Flamingo, our sponsor. And until next time, this has been the Apartment Department.